everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're taking a look at the elimination battle series between YGX and Wedemboyz. Now I do know that Wedemboyz took a clean sweep from this elimination battle series, so I'm not really going to kind of place my votes on who I think took the battles. I'm mostly just appreciating it, maybe trying to figure out what qualities of both and what they brought to the table, and also seeing a little bit of YGX's growth in this process too, because this is probably going to be one of the last times I am able to see them before they depart the show. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Okay, this is a crew battle, but I heard that Bots is not in this one, possibly. You should never go, you never get lost 3 times in a row, so. Got some JT. I did see one of them was just a slight bit off. That was fun. They're like, what is this? They're hidden battle. They prepared props. Oh, I know this track. What are they about to do?
그거에 동료되지 말자.
히든 배틀은 이렇게 하는 거야. 보여주자. 증명하자. 버터형 없어도 우리 이 정도 한다. 간다. 봐주는 거 없다.
Very creative usage of the prop. Normally I don't see people use it as a jump rope when they use it as an elastic to help with certain angles. That was super fun.
아, 진짜 미쳤다. 아, 근데 아이디어는 진짜 좋다.
It's a great idea.
에너지도 있어가지고.
그렇죠.
근데 나는 그래도 일단 기본적으로 배틀이기 때문에 앞에서 하는 앞하고는
That I can agree with. No, I agree with that. I think Field Dog makes a very valid point because it's a battle. A lot of times, courteously, you do want to face your opponent whenever you do perform. So that was a really big note that I do agree with him on. But that's not necessarily a end-all, be-all, or a, like, what's the word?
우리 배틀이야.
It's a dance battle. It's a battle. Yeah. I mean, is that a deal breaker? Is that going to be the determining factor? I mean, in some cases, but here, when you do look, multiple things make up these. Firstly, it's your content, of course. Secondly, is a captivation focal point. What kind of creativity do you bring to the table? Your musicality, your innovation within the tracks that you're choosing. You also have to think environment, right? So how do you set the tone for the environment? That does play a role. I will say I did learn that the battle between J-Rock and Trix lost, and I think that's one of the few that I highly disagree with that result. I think Trix should have taken it, and I did have a whole analysis as to why I think Trix would have taken the battle, because whenever it was in the moment I talked through it, because it is very difficult, and it is a component of Crumbs sometimes, is the engagement of your audience and how hyped they get, but also it's a very supportive and encouraging environment, so it's good to have that. But you can feel the difference between people having a visceral reaction to what you're bringing to the table. You can't discredit that. Now, should that be the main thing that influences how somebody scores? Absolutely not. There is a way to properly gauge your audience for entertainment value, because even if an audience doesn't clap for someone but they are affected by it, you can feel it in the energy in the room, and you can feel it based on how the room started versus how it finished within the set. So that is a measurable way you can kind of determine this. Now with both groups, you notice both points from each side were made. YGX, when you think about their content, it wasn't anything special. With B2B, they did take a more R&B kind of approach when they did their crew battle, but what was different about it was they were exploring a very different pocket of energy, their genre. They were converting their choreographic essence into a different range of sound, which made it more captivating, and also they presented new ways of looking at what they were doing. Did YGX do that? I don't believe so. It very much felt like a choreography battle crew setup. They were facing against Wedemboyz. I mean, you know, so it's good that they did that. And there's also the point to be made that Wedemboyz did not really face YGX for most of it, so it was kind of discourteous. It's more disrespectful than it is, you're not going to win because you didn't look at your opponent. Does that make sense? If you want to be courteous. Yeah, I just feel like I wish that they did face them. At least, however, though, they are watching, paying attention to what they're doing. And I want you to factor in too, I know certain verbiage, side note, I know certain verbiage I do repeat a lot because it could just be because when I'm watching a different season but the same context, I feel like the scope of what I'm talking about, certain verbiage works better than other verbiage. So I apologize if I keep saying certain words to express my opinion, but it just sounds like a broken record but put in a different sentence. I'm sorry for that. I will work on my vocabulary to make it sound more interesting, especially if you binge these. That can get annoying, so I'm sorry about that. But going here, I know my dancer right here from YGX, he's a little bit off on some of the choreography that I just noticed. Of course, they cut often. Like right before it kind of cut away. Whoop. Did you see me move? Right before they cut away here. I'm gonna move it back down. Right there. Did you notice that his arm came up before everybody else's arms came up? And he also dropped his hands a little bit as well. I do appreciate whenever in the eliminations, very rarely do you see the crews not watch each other. But in the other battles in the beginning, sometimes they walk away, they don't even want to see them, they're ignoring them, or they're trying to mimic them, those types of things. So I really like the courtesy that I see in the elimination battles specifically. I also know that this is the portion of the show where people aren't becoming villains as much anymore. There's redemptive qualities, redemptive arcs are starting to take place, corners turned, people are changed, things like that. So I know that. But that's important to know. Yes, it just looks like, it does just look like choreography. There's no gimmick value to it. And with crew battles, that is a component that I would say needs to be integrated, because when you saw Prime Kings and B2B and 1 million, I did not go in the right order. I have already seen the 1 million and B2B elimination. The same case there. There's always something that you want to captivate your audience and your judges with, and grow and showcase yourself in an innovative way in some factor. But here it just looks like choreography, a combo similar to one of their crew previews. I will say that. I hate to say that, but it's really nice. But they're not wrong in saying it's just choreography. It's nicely executed. He's not wrong. There really isn't anything that sticks out in this besides really trying to hit the musicality in a nice way, but it's also a Justin Timberlake track, and they're hitting it similarly to how other people hit this track, which can also work against them, which worked against Wedemboyz in the Mega Crew. That was one of the feedbacks one of the fight judges said, which is why they're in elimination, that one of the tracks they used Vata's section that he directed, that he used a particular track that he presented an underwhelming perspective to the track when normally there's a level of expectation that comes with the concepts. And I really feel that you're teetering on subjection at that point, right? Do I think I enjoyed Wedemboyz Mega Crew, but do I feel that their content was significantly underwhelming in density and in justification? Yes, I do. And also, I don't believe Vata's section should have been the lowest scored. I don't think it should have scored that low. I felt that some of the other directors of that crew, Wedemboyz, Ingu, for example, he had really creative components. They utilized the platforms because I know that was a restriction, some of you have told me. But something interesting to note, though, is there was no dance content in that section until they all danced in unison and they stayed in one formation, peeled it out, of course. They did dynamics, which were great, but the choreography stayed one-dimensional in regards to not the range of the polyrhythms and how they transferred from their body parts, but their body itself was not reaching various levels outside of just a ripple or mirroring or the peel outs with the group. That's my point. And I think I've touched on that similarly when I looked at Just Jerk. That's something they did do very well in their unison section. So you can kind of look at those comparisons in the Mega Crew analysis that I have as well. So that's just my big note. I'm sorry to kind of deflect, but I know this elimination is happening because both of them had the lowest Mega Crews. They're like, what is this? So I know they really hyped up this section a lot. I really wish this was just a full cam so I could, you know. I do like this song. They match the energy really well.
히든 배틀은 이렇게 하는 거야. 보여주자. 증명하자. 버터형 없어도 우리 이 정도.
I feel that if Prime Kings can use props for theirs, they can use props. Wolflows use props. I really like the angles. They're very clean in their angles. They're very clear in their angles. Everybody's pulling with the same level of tension. So I am very impressed with their ability to be clear on when the elastic is stiff, when is it loosened. I really like that. When people do that, when they're like, this really, you know, that's when your subjectiveness does come in, because does it feel fair? They have more people. It's not as much choreography right now. They're setting it up well, but also they're not really looking at their opponents as much either. It is a really nice build. It's nice. It's keeping me involved in what's going on. That's fun with the peel out. I like that. And I think another note that's important here is they not only used the elastic in ways that I feel like we've seen before. They converted it to a jump rope. So that was something newer to me. I hadn't seen people use that type of elastic in multiple facets in a single set before. I think that's super fun. Nice creativity. They are doing choreo. Do I wish they turned the choreo, maybe faced it towards their opponent? I think wouldn't have hurt. I think it helped them. This was nice. Into the jump over. That was fun. Yeah, and they go down, jump over. Super fun. I really like Vata's energy. I've already said that. He's one of the best hype men you could have on the sidelines. It's really enjoyable to watch him. It's cool to see him look at his crew too. I think he must feel really proud of the run they did. And they also have great confidence too. And I know the judges struggled with the battles as well. I know that I saw an excerpt where they were very saddened at the fact that they were not made to be the bad guys. They did use that verbiage, but they definitely felt bad of having to carry the weight of determining who goes home or not, you know. That was enjoyable. Wow, this is so amazing. Now, do I think that was the most incredible crew battle? No, I feel like there have been other eliminations that have really just blew my mind a lot more. But you can tell based on the air in the room, pretty much everybody feels that that was YGX's last battle, you know. But Field Dog makes a great point though, because we'll hear it again. But still, you know, they're like, that was really good, but still, this is a dance battle. It's not a good idea to dance towards the judges. Another thing that's not a good idea is sitting down while your opponent is going. That's something that I learned the hard way. Very young in my dance journey, I was doing freestyle battles. I was not very good at all, and I'm not saying that out of like pity. I know my range, and a lot of you have seen my stiff body and choreography that I have on here from like 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I was freestyling during that time, so you can imagine my stiff body moving and grooving then. One of the things that I learned that actually helped me show more courtesy to the space is to not sit down, because you don't want to show that you're tired or fatigued. Because one aspect, at least, of old school battling is you can go 1 round, but can you go 5? Can you own me 5 rounds in a row? It's the longevity. And I know Boogie Frantic is that kind of mindset. Mr. Wiggles, Jay Smooth, a lot of those the older generation, from me, I would consider some of them Gen 1, Gen 2, that they have that kind of mindset. So it really just depends on the context. This type of battleground, I think they're way more forgiving towards those types of mannerisms. Field Dog does have a valid point. So if you were curious, I agree with him. But that doesn't matter with these judges. And I'm not saying it's because they're idols. You know, I know they're idols, and a lot of people are heckling them a lot, but they're laymen too. They have experience dancing. Do they have experience auditing and providing feedback to elite level dancers? That's a very different skill set. Just like these dancers in these challenges are experiencing different skill set requirements, these judges are learning how to acquire new skill sets. You don't have to be the best dancer in the world to be a good judge. You also, however, just because you are a good dancer does not make you a good judge. You see, because it goes back to toolkits. Every aspect of the show carries a different toolkit depending on how you look at it. For me, I empathize with those who battle, and I empathize more so with those who have to adjudicate it, because that's been the role that I've really tried to grow myself in, because I feel I'm more beneficial to my students by approaching how I teach them with that way of guiding versus me performing and putting myself in that position. But it's nice to empathize in that process. So it makes sense why Wedemboyz won this one. They did have a more captivating performance. YGX had more choreography, but that's all they had was choreography and formation changes. They didn't have any aspect that helped make it actually battleable. It felt like we were watching the end of a dance class, them showcasing what they just taught the class. And I've mentioned that about a couple other crew previews. I think 1 Million, I kind of chewed them out a little bit for that. And I think YGX also demonstrated that in one of their crew previews, hence why I'm reminded of that. Is that a bad thing? No. Do I think it was strong enough against the set that they were against? Unfortunately, I don't. So I agree with the judges for that. And that just proves to you that for me, I know I have more experience in this field than they do. But also, I know I am not the best battler in the world. I've already told you that, right? But I do organize events, and I am a part of the battle scene, just in a different capacity. So I'm much more of an observer, and I am more of an advisor when it comes to running those types of events. But here, laymen do carry a sense of objectivity to some degree, you know. And some people were commenting, and we were talking through that on some of the other reactions I have. But yeah, that's definitely a really big thing that is not talked about enough, is don't discredit somebody just because they're an idol. Don't just discredit somebody because they're not a professional musician in terms of what's good music. Does that make sense? I feel like those laymen, because I'm a layman in certain fields, but I also know if there's certain aspects, like if there's a show and they need a professional opinion, I'm not going to be the one that puts my name in the hat if I'm not a professional in that. You know I'm a professional as an educator, as a choreographer, and as a dancer. Those are the scopes I can put myself in for things. But as a singer, I'm a layman. Yeah, I've done some singing, but I haven't done professional training. And I think that's a really important thing I want people to know. If you are an individual who loves dancing but is not a professional dancer, your opinion has value too. And I think that's okay. And I want you to be encouraged by that. On the flip side of it, not all opinions are justifiable. That's a really big thing for me, and I feel like a lot of you guys watch my channel because I do this. Any opinion that I bring to the table, I try my best to provide justification or sources as to why I think the way that I do. However, very rarely is this opinion locked in. I'm always open-minded to hearing other people's perspectives, hence why I always love the discussions that we have. I know this is a bit long-winded, but I think it's important to talk about because a lot of them are mentioning, oh, we should have danced to the judge. This is a dance battle. This is a battle, guys. Yes, it is a battle. But this isn't BC1. This isn't Red Bull Dancer Style. It's Street Man Fighter. It's a little different. I think that's okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. I know some of my responses may have been a little long-winded, but I really do love the opportunity to get to grow alongside you guys, and I really enjoy watching these battles. Regardless of results, I think everybody who participates in shows like these, I think they end up growing so much more than they could have ever imagined, and we get to see that and be alongside them in that journey. And I'm excited that I'm in this place where I get to react to it and analyze it, and I feel like I get more out of it because I get to interact with you guys along the way. So thank you again, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.